What's up, everybody? Welcome to oh wait a minute. I gotta kind of change up my words a little bit because I'm trying to kind of change the channel around a little bit. So welcome to Dragon Riders Media, baby. Yes. And today we got another special Behind the Bullshit podcast. The podcast that is unfiltered, unsponsored, and unedited for your listening and viewing pleasure. Yeah, so basically the point of this podcast is for me to bring on different guests in different industries and different areas of expertise. I bring them on the show. We do a deep dive on into their beginnings, their ups and downs and some of the bullshit to get to where they are today. And to the stage, welcome today, Rebecca Dixon.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been following you for a while on LinkedIn, and it was like, you know what? Let me reach out to see if she would be interested in coming on the podcast. And I was like, what? Yes, let's go. Let's do it.
I'm so excited to be here. It's fun to. I actually love LinkedIn. It's funny that you mentioned that, but there are so many great connections that I've made there, and I think that I'm sure we'll talk about how I got into the industry, which I am, but I was new to this industry, and so at the beginning, LinkedIn is how I really met a lot of people. Also, it was during the pandemic, so it was one of the only ways to meet people. But I continue to find it so valuable. Because you just get a little bit, a lot of the times it's sort of following the same people and the same topics, but then there are a lot of intersecting industries these days. And it's just a pleasure to be here. Thanks for reaching out.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I have really promoted LinkedIn a lot, especially lately, getting into more business minded focus for myself to expand beyond the outreaches of Twitter, or excuse me, formerly known as Twitter, X. You know what I'm saying? So, I started off on Twitter, and then I started YouTube channel, and then I really expanded from there. And I'll say for one, LinkedIn has been a great resource and tool for me to be able to expand out to other business minded professionals, and and it has created a few other opportunities as well, man. So I'm a very, very big supporter of LinkedIn. A lot of my friends don't even know you can stream to LinkedIn. They're like,
I know.
I'm like, yeah, I stream to LinkedIn. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Ain't that for just resumes? I was like, no, man, no. It's just a whole little social network now, man. It's crazy.
It is. It has a lot of different ways to find value, but you and I connected right in my direct messages. So I'm so glad you reached out.
Fantastic. All right. So, well, before we get into it, let's go get a little background. So, where are you from?
I am originally from Connecticut. That's where I grew up. But I have lived in New York City my entire adult life. So I had a little stint in the South. I went to college in Tennessee.
Okay.
My extended family is all across the deep South. So it was nice to live in a different part of the country and experience a little bit of my heritage. But I am a New Yorker now through and through. I have lived here for 25 years.
Wow. Was that a little bit of a culture shock going from upstate to down south?
Not for me, because my parents are both from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. I'm the oldest of, I've got 21 first cousins and about 40 plus second cousins. So all across the country, but very heavily rooted in the South. So for me, actually, it was wonderful to be able to spend time there. I love the South. I mean, I feel like so many places across the world have just incredible culture and people and community, and you can't really learn what it's all about unless you live there or spend a lot of time there. But I have spent a lot of time in the South, for my whole life. So it was great to live there. And I love living in New York now. I live right near Washington Square Park. I have 3 kids. My kids are, growing up as city kids, and it's a great place to live. It's where I am right now.
Wow, that's amazing. I've only been to New York a couple times myself. Years ago, I used to drive a 18-wheeler. So it was like I just was passing by, I delivered a load and it was out, what I'm saying? But I got a picture of the Statue of Liberty. That's all I wanted.
That's a great picture. You know what? You can live in New York a long time and still experience new things. I had a meeting today in the Chrysler Building, and I'm a lifelong New Yorker who had never been inside the Chrysler Building. So it was so fun. I found myself getting really excited and taking pictures on my way in the door.
That's awesome. I mean, you know what? And that's pretty much any city you go to. I mean, unless you are, unless you're exposed to a lot of different things, a lot of different areas and different backgrounds, you kind of just congregate to, a couple little centralized areas and stuff like that. So even here in Louisville, Kentucky. So I know a lot of people pronounce that Louisville or Louisville, but I'm all the time. I'm still steadily finding different things, because me and my wife, we like to adventure and go do stuff and find little hole in the wall restaurants and stuff, man. So it's crazy how much you don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, first of all, I love Louisville. I mentioned I went to college in Tennessee, so I have actually a lot of friends from Louisville and some who still live there. So I've been to a couple weddings there, and it's a wonderful place. So, but you're absolutely right. In fact, a lot of times people will ask me the question, "How do you have kids in New York City? Like, what do you do?" And I'm like, well, other than like work, which is what I spend a lot of my time on, I do things like homework and, taking my kids to basketball practice. But it's not that it's the same, but it's like kind of, I think the same as like just being a parent, in a lot of places.
Well, I think the thing is, especially for me myself, until I actually got to get, in the city and actually walk a block, like all I knew about New York was from what I seen on TV. It was always somebody yelling at a cab or get out of here or, or, what I'm saying? Or people talking about pizza, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't really get to experience a culture until you're actually like in it. You know what I mean? It's different.
No, you're right. And we spend a lot of time as a family just right in our little area where we live. Like another question people ask a lot is like, how do your kids get around? And the answer to that is they mostly walk. They walk to school. They walk to, they're actually pretty independent. They're pretty independent. They're 14, 12, and 7. I mean, the 7-year-old doesn't walk around alone, but the 14 and 12-year-old do everything on their own. So yeah.
Wow, man. Well, it's like I was talking about this with some friends the other day. The environment that we grew up in versus what kids nowadays are growing up in and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And yes, nowadays a lot of kids are more independent. I mean, they are more advanced than most of us was when we were their ages, you know what I mean? And I definitely attribute that to technology and the access and to a lot of different things, because just growing up, before technology, it was just like you only did what your mom and pop told you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's technology has a lot of really cool things for kids, and also there's some stuff that's scary, and we have to kind of stay ahead of it. Even being that I'm in a profession that I feel like I'm pretty at the forefront of understanding a lot of the technology, it's impossible to keep up with kids who are just growing up with it like their second language.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff. So so all right, so after you moved back to New York, so what'd you kind of do after school and stuff?
So I spent about a decade in the media buying and advertising sales industry. I'll age myself here, but ad sales at that time for brands was basically selling 30-second TV ads, because that's where ads were. Now it's it's changed a little bit, and so but it was such a great way to start my career. I learned a lot about brands wanting to, try to find their exact right demographic and group of people who would, most want to consume them and purchase them. And then I think that's really still something that's relevant today, because especially with young consumers, like they're, as in general, are so cognizant of what brands that they're using or purchasing, what's behind the brand, what they stand for. So it gave me a real sort of like passion for that. And then it was fun. I worked at a media agency for a while. I did ad sales at CBS TV and Turner, and it was also a great way to spend my 20s in New York City, because it was very like entertainment based industry, and I still have a lot of my like core group of friends from New York is from those years. So that was really a fun time, and also gave me just a good background. I always am happy that I worked in the corporate world for a while.
It's pretty fast paced though, back then. It was just like, because you had to run for everything. Because you didn't have access to it on your phone. So it was like, I got to get over here to get this or get this letter, or, you know what I mean? So
yeah, it's actually so true. It was like everything was based on live TV. And so it's, that's what it was. Meanwhile, now kids are like, what's live TV other than, like the Super Bowl? Sometimes they're like, my own kids are like, ads are so annoying. I'm like, that's literally my profession. I mean, not exactly, not anymore, but it's but it was a great way to get a good understanding, I think, of just, how a business works, what brands are looking for. And also what I'm doing today is really about building community. And I think that, community is a little bit of a word that's used, maybe overused today, but it has a lot of synergies to like communities that, whether it's watch certain shows or consume certain brands, or, I think it's interesting to sort of study and build and grow and support groups of like-minded people. It's always been something I've been really interested in.
So, in the early days, especially like you said in your 20s and stuff of doing all this marketing stuff, as a woman, like, was that a little bit more difficult for you than, the male counterparts?
I mean, it's interesting because I'm, my company now that I founded is the Game Hers. I'm the mom of 2 daughters. I am a female founder and promoter, and I'm always going to think about how to support women and girls to the fullest extent, and to support anybody who's maybe having a more difficult time being successful in their career than others. That being said, I mean, I'm not in the habit of male bashing at all. I don't think it's valuable. Was it a little bit hard? Yes. I think the main thing I noticed at that time in that industry, and one of the reasons that I didn't end up staying in it, I didn't see a ton of and there definitely were some, so it's not that there were none, but I didn't see a ton of women in leadership roles, and this has changed for sure, but women in leadership roles who were sort of also mentoring younger women, and that I could sort of follow in their footsteps. Now, that being said, I have a lot of friends and colleagues who stayed in that industry and who've really enjoyed it and had really successful careers. So for me at the time, I felt like that it had sort of run its course, and I was ready for something a little bit more entrepreneurial, and that would kind of fit what I envisioned as a lifestyle that could work for me. I mean, it's interesting because I work more now than I've ever worked in my life. So it's not that I work any less at all, but I do think that at the time that I worked in that industry, it was a little bit rigid in terms of like FaceTime at work and sort of all of the things that you needed to do to get to the next level and sort of fit in, go down one path in the way that everyone had to go down that path to be successful. And I mean, I didn't have kids at the time. I left that industry right at the time, pretty coincidentally, but right at the time I was starting my family. So I don't have the experience of what that was like, but it felt like an organic time for me to move on.
I understand that. I generally like to ask that question, and because, I get a lot of different responses. You know what I'm saying? And there's like everybody has a different experience. I mean, some people, they it was such a bad experience that they kind of just left that industry and moved into another industry and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Because I imagine, like say, with the marketing was very, very tough and it's pretty cutthroat at times. You know what I mean? So it was it was one of those industries I would say that was not meant for the weak or the weak minded. I would say you had to be pretty tough to survive in something like that, right?
I think so. I mean, it's a behemoth of an industry, right? And so you have definitely at that time, I can only speak for when I was there, but you had to play by the rules. You had to network with the right people, mentor with the right people. And I have to say, I mean, I had a really good experience. I had a lot of really wonderful colleagues and friends and bosses. And that being said, it felt like for me, that I would probably be more successful somewhere else. So where I ended up going right after that is, like I said, it was around the time that I was starting my family, and I was on a newsletter list of a parenting group in New York called Mommy Bites, and they were looking for somebody to work from home and help with advertising, sponsorship, sales, and
I bet that helped, with you being home, right?
Yeah. So I ended up starting, very part-time, but then immediately kind of like ramped up and ended up joining the company.
Yeah.
Ended up joining, becoming having part ownership in it and helping, our team ended up selling that business. And so it was an incredible experience. I learned a ton about building communities, supporting women, connecting brands with communities. We had a tech platform that connected parents and caregivers in New York City. So it was really neat. Nice. I took a lot of my sort of learnings from my media buying days to that company and to the world of the startup world and the parenting world, which I was living and working in at the time. And it was really wonderful. It was a total shift. But a great experience, and really great to be a part of a company that was sold as well.
Okay, that's awesome. So where Rick says, what's the biggest mistake you see companies making with their marketing?
I mean, that's a big question. It's hard to say the biggest mistake, but I could say what I think is the best thing probably to do, and especially for small companies. But then as you get bigger, you can continue to do it, especially in the days of social media, is to ask I always say the best way to build community is to use the existing community. Ask that community, what do they like about the product? What do they like about, what's working, what's not working? Engage them in whatever ways are sort of authentic to engage them, and then use that as further marketing. And so in these days of where we're all so connected, that's something that's even easier to do than ever. Some of the words that are like the best and the worst to do are hard because it's overused. Like I would say the best thing to do is be very authentic, and authenticity goes directly to what the current community likes, and use that as a tool for marketing. And so, maybe the worst thing is to sort of ignore the current community.
Okay. So, speaking of community, and like you say, we do see that term used pretty often, especially with people saying, "Oh, yeah, hey, let's build this community. Hey, community, let's stick together." You know what I mean? And then, on the flip side of that, then you got, either the owners or the teams or whatever the case may be, not really supporting their communities back. You know what I mean? Like, they want all this community give, but what are they doing to give back? What kind of problems do you see with that?
Well, so it's interesting. I mean, after my company, after Mommy Bites, I ended up being a part of the founding team of my current company, the Gamers. And at the heart of the Gamers, we are a community. That's what the Gamers is, a community. I mean, it's a social tech platform for women in gaming, but what we are is a community. And so it's maybe a little bit different than, the question you asked is a good one, but if you have a an existing brand or a product, and then you want to build a community that likes that product, yeah, that is really important. Like, who's using your product?
Yes.
Build that community. And then the question about what are you giving them back? It's challenging to make sure that it's sort of a two-way street. For us at the Gamehers, like, because we literally are a community, that's kind of all we think about all the time. What can we do for our community? That's why we launched our company. And I didn't really tell you that exact origin story, but basically,
yeah, we'll go. That was going to be one of my next questions.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that we founded the company is that, you know, there are 3 billion video game players in the world, and half of them are women.
Yes.
And there
are and you know what? I'm sorry. A lot of people do not realize how many women gamers there are.
Yeah, it's 1.5 billion globally. So, and you know, you can slice and dice and move that statistic around, and the games and the mobile and whatever. It doesn't matter. There are a huge number of women playing video games. Also, a very large number of women making purchasing decisions for video games and consoles, and you know, it's a big number. So, being someone who has a lifelong interest in and career in building communities, even though, like you said, it's quite an overused word these days. But I would say it's accurate to say that a lot of people have experience building community, and I'm definitely one of those people. And after studying the numbers and learning about that massive size of the gaming industry, I had some adjacencies, sort of some sideline front row seats to that industry. My dad and my brother were part of the original ownership of Optic Gaming, or Team Envy, and then Optic. So, you know, that was one of the reasons I kind of started following esports and started following the gaming industry.
And that was I was gonna be like, well, how did you move from this previous into like the gaming realm? Because like that is, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's a
big jump.
It's a pretty, like, you know, left turn pivot. But at you know, I was a founder. I was an entrepreneur who really liked being in the startup world, and had just helped sell a company and was trying to figure out what to do next. And so I was just having a lot of kind of like networking conversations and figuring out, you know, what would be, you know, what's in my future. And so I ended up finding myself at this, at a financial investment day. And the topic was investing in esports. And they were talking about, there were a lot of speakers, and it was at a bank downtown. And I just went because I was interested in, like I said, my family had ownership in Optic. We also had my mom used to be co-owner of a WNBA team. So like my family has a long history. I mentioned also my family's from the Deep South. We're huge sports fans, college sports, SEC, ACC. So my sister-in-law would love you. My grandmother, who lived for 93 years, was the biggest LSU fan I've ever known. So you know, we've got some family rivalries depending on where everybody went to college. But no, we're long-term sports fans, and coming off of community building. My co-founders and I at the time, we're at this conference. They're talking about investing in esports, and a lot of these people are on stage saying like, "Oh my gosh, you know, women are half of gamers. This is the most wonderful," and you know, and also layering in like all the statistics about diversity and everything about gamers. And the room, honestly, was filled with like a few hundred, and again, nothing against like anybody, but it was just a few hundred kind of white men. And so I love white men. I'm married to one. They're wonderful. But it was sort of like, if the women are half of gamers and they control, you know, 75% of the blah, 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 $1 trillion, like, where are they? Like, where are they?
Look, from just speaking to a lot of the women gamers and stuff like that, a lot of them like kind of just they don't want to be bothered. because most of the time, you get into a game, especially if it's got like a public chat or something like that, they're getting attacked, they're, oh, what are you doing? Get back to the kitchen, or they, or either that, or it's like some very, very obscene stuff that's being said to them and everything. So most of the time, I I've noticed that a lot of women, they may have mics and stuff like that, but they don't even turn them on because they want to just enjoy the game and not be bashed.
Yeah, well, so first of all, "Get back in the kitchen" was the first comment that was ever posted on our Twitch, on the Gamers Twitch.
What?
And so that's funny you said that. I mean, not funny, but I don't.
Well, I've heard that in a game lobby before.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It's yes to what you just said. There are the statistics, and some of them I have off the top of my head, and there are many, many more. But I think it's like 75% of multiplayer gamers, women gamers, have gamed with either like a gender neutral name with their microphone off. I mean, the statistics are not great. That being said, that's why, after doing a lot of research, we felt that there really might be a place in the world and a desire for community focused on women gamers. We have anybody is welcome in the gamers community, and I think that issues like the ones you just mentioned can't really ever be ultimately kind of fixed without the support and kind of inclusion of everybody, from a supportive standpoint, from a mentorship standpoint, and so yes, I would say women gamers don't all feel the same way about how they want to handle it. Some of them just want to game and turn their mic off, and that's totally fine. There's a big debate between, should there be all women's sports teams? Because why should there be all women's? Like, some women are as good, women are can be equally as good as men. There's no
absolutely
difference. But other women, and think like there's a place for, I'm not going to speak to the esports team aspect of it, because they're both exist. And so people, until, I think they can both exist because they do now. But in terms of community, we felt like if we create a place for communities built around women, also with the support of men and all the verticals in the industry, brands and esports teams and publishers and universities, players, developers, content creators, and and on and on and on. And just the more that it is almost normalized that, by the way, women play video games, like newsflash, and develop them, and should work at all levels of game publishers. And it really, I always say the future is bright. Like there are so many opportunities for women in gaming. We're trying to provide more. We're trying to amplify the ones that are there. Are there still challenges? Absolutely. I mean, 100%. But it's been a really exciting, journey so far. We have 1 million people in our extended network. We really focus on education, professional development, entrepreneurship. We just launched an entrepreneur program. We're expanding globally. We're going to Nigeria and UK, Europe, Canada. So it's been exciting, and I'm just excited to see where the next couple of years take us.
That's amazing. I just want to stop for a second. So big shout out to JRE, man. This man has been a very, very generous guy in a lot of different spaces. He reaches out and supports a lot of different people. So for the 100 bomb, thank you very, very much for that. JRE, you're an amazing guy, man. And Road Warrior Rick, thank you once again for the for the 100. That's amazing. I really very much appreciate that, man. It's going to support a lot of different things, and will be also used in the giveaways to support other content creators as well. So thank you very, very much. But so within your Gamehurst community and stuff like that, what kind of things do you all are there like sessions and or I would say group sessions and stuff like that to discuss just being out in the gaming communities and stuff, and you know, how to navigate some of the negativity in those spaces?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we have a really active Discord. It's the Gamers Discord, and a
Mhm.
lot of conversations and support happens there. So if somebody were to say like, "Oh, I'm interested in learning more about the Gamers," I would say download our app. That's where that's where it all happens. But then we're also in all the other places too. Like we want to be where women gamers are, or where supporters of women gamers are. So we have a great Discord. We also have a lot of specific sort of marquee events that we host or support throughout the year. We're probably most known for the Gamers Awards, which just happened in March, live in Atlanta for the first time, where we honored about 25 different women across the spectrum of gaming, jobs and positions. And it's really neat because it just gives us an opportunity to elevate a lot of the people in our community. And although we're not actually the ones doing any of the nominating or voting, we're just providing the space for the community to do that. And it was an incredible event that did get, all of the people who were honored a lot of visibility. We ended up having, when all was said and done, our reach for that event was over 10 million. So it was like incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it was it was really like, it makes me so like joyful just to think about it now, because it's actually, a meaningful number that provided so much amplification of the achievements of some of the people in our network. So that's the thing we're most known for in terms of events. We go to a lot of events and host sort of either adjacent events or events within events. So like we'll be at MomoCon and DreamHack and Twitch and all of those kind of things. Just sort of spreading the word about what we're doing and trying to meet other people. We just launched our ambassador program. So we have a growing network of 100 ambassadors around the country and world. And that's another way for us to sort of be able to be in other places at the same time while we're kind of facilitating a lot of these programs that we're launching. But we also have, we're still a startup too, and as we grow, we're evolving what we can offer. And so we have a lot of, like, I think I mentioned, we just launched an entrepreneurship program, and so that's for entrepreneurs in the gaming space, and really excited about that.
So we'll just take a step back for just a second. So with the ambassador program, like what are the benefits of coming on as an ambassador for Gamers?
So it basically, our community has a lot of different people in it, of course, a lot of different people, but a lot of different types of people with different connections to the video game industry. And we also have a core team of people who, like, our actual Gamers team, who work at the Gamers. And so when we first started, we wanted to be in a lot of places physically at once, but we, as we've grown bigger, we didn't have the opportunity to do that. So ambassadors have a lot of different sort of touch points, but it's everything from sort of spreading the word about what we're doing to a larger community, to also getting access to a lot of our offerings first, from merch to opportunities to go to events, and just be an advocate for the Gamers, but also have the Gamers as an advocate for the ambassadors.
So have you ever had to kick anybody out of the ambassador program?
Definitely not, but it also did just launch, but no. No.
Hey, you got to ask, because sometimes no one really asks that question. You know what I mean? So I like to spring up the randoms, the random stuff. Just to.
No, we're in the business of supporting people, and I mean, listen, we have a mission statement and values, and we are a mission-driven company, obviously. So our ambassadors are, we're curated through an application process, and we would love to have as many as possible. But first of all, we have a small team to support them at this point in time. And I think that, I'm going to just say that hopefully we won't ever come into a situation where that happens. I don't envision that being something that comes up. I think, we've been really lucky. Actually, when we first launched, we did run into some people who said, I don't know if you want to do that, because you're going to run into just like this industry. And I'm just quoting kind of what we heard. This industry can be very toxic and you'll get a lot of pushback and all that. And I have to say, I mean, we've had some challenges like any startup would have challenges. We've run into some, a couple complicated things here and there, just I think like any, but at the end of the day, we have experienced primarily support and collaboration, because I think, a lot of it is surprise that people, if people aren't right in the gaming industry, they don't necessarily always know how many women came. And then once they know, or if they, now it's obviously a pretty well-known fact in the industry, but it's more, how can we solve the problem? How can we provide more opportunities? So I feel very positive about, the progress that we've made, the community that we've built, the partners that we have. I mean, there are a lot of, we launched just during the pandemic, and since the time we launched and now, there's been, which is great. There's been an elevated interest in, I think, just supporting women in general in this country. And that's great. I mean, obviously that's so wonderful. And so what's been interesting about this industry, for an industry that had a big reputation for being like challenging, we have actually only found collaboration, like collaborative opportunities. So if somebody asks us like, oh, is XYZ a competitor of yours? We almost don't really have competitors. Like there's a big group of women focused organizations. Some are nonprofit, some are for-profit, some are more like a, one figurehead kind of like an influencer. Anyway, we're all connected. Like we all meet. We meet up at events. We support each other, because there's still a lot of room for improvement for women in gaming. So we can, what is it? What's that quote? I always forget it. About like rising tides all lift each other. That's not the right one, but what I'm talking about. This is live. I don't know that one. But I'll think of it and send it to you after.
Okay.
Anybody listening probably obviously knows it, but I can't think of it. But anyway, basically we can all support each other. That's a really nice thing, because it's, it's not like I'm sitting here drinking a Diet Coke. It's not like there's Coke and Pepsi and you have to pick one and the other's your competitor. It's,
Yeah, so that's an amazing thing. That's what gaming is. From my experience, it's, you get a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds, and I don't care what you may be green, but if you are a gamer, you are all right with me. Type of thing. And people just come together and supposed to be able to collab and game together, and even like you said with different companies and brands in this realm. I mean, why would you not work together? Because all you're doing is introducing, there may be some gamers out there that doesn't really know, like you offer certain type of services and stuff, and it's like, boom, you did a collab with somebody, you done introduced yourself, not only yourself to their communities, but their communities are introduced to yours, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
It helps the gaming community as a whole just continue to grow, because I mean, it's like you said, this is a huge industry. Why would you not?
Totally.
Oh, he said, Rick says, rising tides raise all ships.
Rick is right. Rick is right. I just looked it up. And
let's go, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. It's credited to JFK. I was listening to what you were saying, but I was also looking that up on my phone. I can't lie.
I have to do that too, because you know what? I'll be like, yeah, man, I can't think of this. And like 3 days after the fact, not even related to the conversation or anything, I'm like, That's what I was talking. Oh, let me call. Hey, remember we was talking about this? What are you? And then they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" I don't remember this conversation. I'm like, "Man, what we was talking about? It was this." And they're like, "Oh yeah, okay,
I know.
that was random." I'm like, "Wait."
That's pretty embarrassing. I think I actually said it, and I said, "No, that's not it." But anyway, thank you, Rick. That was so funny that comment popped up right then because I had just looked it up.
All right, so so with the wow. So with the entrepreneurship program, like what exactly does that consist of? Because I mean that would that would interest anyone, especially if you want to start your own business and stuff like that. Having a helping hand in doing so is wow. I mean,
Yeah.
it is amazing.
So it's in its infancy stages. We just launched. It's live on our. I mean, it's on LinkedIn somewhere. And if you filter back through my LinkedIn or also the Gamers LinkedIn and all of our socials, there's a link to a form to indicate interest. So here's what we know. We know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs in our community, and that could be entrepreneurs who are game developers, entrepreneurs who are content creators, and influencers. Somebody starting a marketing agency, like as you mentioned, and we've kind of talked about on and off this for the last 45 minutes. The gaming industry, like there's so many different ways to connect to it. I mean, as a gamer, but also as in the industry itself. And so what we found is that our network is almost like a community. It's often many people in there. It's a community of communities, or and the various different communities represent a lot of people who maybe they work in gaming, maybe they'd like to work in gaming, maybe they're starting in a game company, as their side hustle. So we knew that for sure based on a lot of chats and also just events that we've hosted and surveys that we've done. So we have really identified, I think I mentioned this in the past year, that our sort of 3 pillars of how we are going to access and offer value to our community are education, which we already do. We run master classes. We're running events called Quest and Collaboration. We did something for we did a couple of two different master classes for parents of teenage gamers called Gamer Guardians.
Okay.
So education is, a very clear need in our community and something that we can offer. We've also had professional career boot camps once a year for the past couple of years. They've been weekend-long events with everything from like a college student talking about how they started their esports team and worked to get it funded, up to a C-suite executive talking about their career in this industry and everything in between. So we've really kind of figured out how we're kicking off the education piece of it and the professional development. And for the entrepreneur part of it, we feel like that's the sweet spot where we can really, really, really provide value, because we have access to a lot of almost like micro entrepreneurs, like they're just getting started, and we can elevate them and lift them up. So the phase that we're in right now is the interest form and collecting data behind what most of the entrepreneurs are interested in, what their needs are. And then on the back end, we're working on getting financing options to be able to help finance them, and then put together some accelerators, both in this country and globally. So it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to being able to kind of share more as we roll more of it out.
Yeah, because man, I'm gonna tell you and I talk about this on various platforms all the time. A lot of people want to get into content creation, especially gamers. You have so many people that want to get into into gaming, and then also try to monetize that through content creation. And a lot of people have realized it's a lot harder than they think it is, especially when you're trying to do it solo on your own, trying to build a community, trying to get your name out there and stuff like that. It is not, it's far few and in between that you become the next Jinxie, because even Jinxie, he works really, really hard. You know what I'm saying? And I think like last year they pulled out his stats, and he literally streamed almost 365 days out of last year, except for like 7 days when he was sick or something like that. But you know what I'm saying? But like, even, it having that helping hand and having some kind of guidance into starting it, and then like you said, even coming up with a little bit of financing to help get you going, because like the gaming consoles aren't cheap. These PCs and computers, and and the screens and all this other stuff, it's not cheap. And you know what I mean? And it scares a lot of people from even getting into content creation.
Yeah. And that's where we feel like we might be able to really kind of like bridge that gap, because we have such a broad and large community on one side, and then we have a really strong, and I'm really proud of it, but we have a strong brand name and relationships with a lot of the companies and sort of partners who could be strategic partners on the other side, who actually just want to meet that community, especially if they're aspiring entrepreneurs. And what you said is so true. I mean, especially in this world where we're all so digitally connected, it's great. I mean, here you and I are talking on a Tuesday night at 8:30, and it's pretty easy for us to do that. And you're in Lexington, and I'm in New York. You're in Louisville. Louisville. I don't know why I said that. But at the end of the day, it can be, you can get burnt out pretty quickly because you can just think that you have to keep working all the time. And I think that I read this great book earlier this year called 10X is Easier Than 2X. I think that's the name of it. 10X is Easier Than 2X. Okay. And the point is, if you just start thinking about how to really grow your brand in a really big way, sometimes it's not always, I mean, you have to do the basics, but the general point of it is, if you really think big and think about all the steps you need to take to get to that next 10X level, instead of just like returning another email, doing this, and really just be thoughtful about how you're spending your time. That's something that's been really helpful for me as an entrepreneur. But I also feel like I've been really lucky over the past couple of years to find some really good mentors, and LinkedIn has actually been a great place. I love meeting new people. I mean, it's such a pleasure to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. So, there's two questions that I always ask my guests, and I always throw them for a loop for a little bit. Question kind of harder than it may sound. So, all right. So, because this is called Behind the Bullshit, there are positive times and negative times. Sometimes you may go through a little bit of bullshit, and it actually helped you advance in your career. And then there's other times when you go into bullshit and it's like, oh my goodness, I don't wish this on my worst enemy type of thing. So, and what would be it could be anything. It doesn't even have to be with sports or whatever, but excuse me, esports. But what would you say would be a positive moment that was just like a positive bullshit moment, I would say?
Okay. I think positive. I'm trying to think of like the one moment to say, I don't love conflict in life at all. But I've realized over the course of my career, and actually also as a parent, I've realized this. So I don't know if you have kids, but it's been you have 4 kids? Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, a lot of parenting strategies I find very similar to like, not similar, but just useful in entrepreneurship and vice versa. But I think that avoiding conflict is never useful. But it's my nature. So there wasn't one bullshit moment, but it's more that it's probably the biggest lesson I've learned over time is that if something feels like I should work it out, or address it, addressing it head on in the kindest way possible, but addressing it is the easiest thing to do instead of putting it off. And I won't say that I learned. It's almost like a combination answer because for many, many years, and still sometimes avoid conflict. But it never helps. It's always good to, I think, to deal with it, that, immediately. So I'm not sure if that's juicy of enough answer for you, but that's the biggest lesson that I always take.
Yeah. Hey, I'll accept any answer, because, it comes in all kinds of different shapes and forms, people's answers, especially when I just spring it on them. Because they're like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't know there was actually going.
I mean, here's another one that I can tell you. This is from before my career that I even mentioned to you. I moved, so I went to college in Tennessee, and then I actually lived in Washington, D.C. for a year. I skipped that because it was just a year, but I shouldn't have skipped it because it's actually where I met my husband. And he moved to New York, and I stayed and ended up working at our company in D.C. for a year. And then I followed him to New York, which is where I wanted to end up anyway.
Yeah.
But I got here and I worked, that was like I'll age myself. It was in 2000. I was 1 year out of college, and I worked, it was the .com boom of, 2000. And I worked for a company for 4 months. And then I got laid off. And when half the company got laid off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just moved to New York for my boyfriend at the time. Thank goodness I ended up marrying him, but I got a job, I got laid off. And it was, so it was, and then actually that was like the 9/11 happened. But that was just the timing of it. But that getting laid off was, I was young, so it seems like, it's not a big deal now. Back when I was right out of college, most people didn't just switch around jobs all the time. Like, people move around a lot more now.
Yeah.
So it was like completely scary. And also the job that I got after that was my job at a media buying agency, which really determined my entire adult life. So, I'll get this phrase right. What is it? Okay. When one door closes, another opens.
Absolutely. Hey, and you know what? You got to listen for the knock sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, when opportunity knocks, you better answer. Don't miss that opportunity.
That's right.
All right. So what would be a negative moment where you was just like, you know what, this didn't help at all. I would like for this not to ever happen again.
Well, you know how I mentioned I don't like negative things. I also tend to block them out of my memory. But I'll tell you, I think so. This didn't necessarily happen to me, but it was happening in my life, and it's actually we really quickly referenced this earlier. But I went through like a pretty big period of burnout a couple of years ago, and what it was is that I was not appropriately scheduling myself with any free time. Absolutely ever.
I can definitely identify with that.
Yeah, it was right on the end of COVID when things sort of started opening up a little bit, and I was still trying to do every single Zoom call possible so I could meet everybody possible to build this startup. And I'm so happy that I did meet so many people, but nothing matters if you're not sleeping. I got this Aura ring recently, and I track my sleep every night. I still don't sleep enough, but I do know if I'm not sleeping enough. So I try to pivot that. And I hope that never happens again, because it's not that anything actually happened. It's just I went through a period of, a couple of months where I really wasn't feeling good about things about anything. And suddenly I realized it's just because I was going zoom, 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 like maybe a happy hour because like the world just opened up and my kids were starting to go to school. But you know, you have to take a break sometimes. And I feel like a lot of times if people ask me, like, as an entrepreneur, what's the number one piece of advice you give? And it's, I mean, I don't think you can always have balance. Sometimes there's balance by seasons, you know, if you're launching a new product or if you're fundraising or something. But I do think like you've got to find some sense of overall, like, you know, maybe it's a seesaw level of balance, or make sure you're sleeping occasionally. I mean, for me, I like to meditate. So that's what works for me. But if your mind isn't kind of settled, then it's hard to sort of do anything else.
Absolutely. And I'll tell anyone out there, content creation, it only goes as far as you are happy. If you're not happy doing this, if you ever get to a point where you're not happy doing this, take you a break. Because if you don't, and you get to a breaking point, you will completely stop it. You will sell all of your equipment, and then your career is over with. About 8 months ago, I took a month-long break from content, from doing anything, because like you said, I was overscheduling myself. I mean, literally 7 days a week I was in Telegram AMAs or Discord or Twitter at the time, or I was scheduling on my channel. I had all these different, because I do a lot of crypto stuff too. And I had projects coming on my channel all the time to talk about what they're doing. And I'd be hours and hours. And, and it got to a point where, of course, my wife was arguing, we were arguing because I'm like, well, I'm just trying to grow. And she's like, wow, I don't ever see you. Come on. I mean, so, and then, it got to a point to where I was just like literally it was, excuse me, I had to actually cancel. It was like a Wednesday and it was after the show. And I was like, I don't know if I want to continue doing this, so I canceled everything. And for about a month, I did not do anything behind the screen, because it was just like, I had to have a conversation with myself, an honest conversation, be like, is this really what I want to do? Is this really the direction I want to go? Am I, what do I need to change to make myself happy to where this ain't feeling like a straight job anymore? Because like, I like to do this. This is fun for me. You know what I'm saying? And, for me to sit down here and be like, set up a stream, boo. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like feeling like that, because I like to come on here. I like Chippy. I'm like, hey, how you doing, everybody? Woo! You know what I'm saying? And it got to that point where I was just like, man, fuck this. I don't want to do this. So I took that break. I decided how I want to do this and how to move forward with it. I literally cut my streaming time in half. I dropped people sponsoring my channel and stuff. And it was just like, you know what? I want to do this the way I want to do this, and not have to feel pressured.
And I think you can build things lots of different ways.
Yeah.
And like you said, if you're not happy when you're doing it, then what's the point anyway? And I think there's a level of like, there's so many different, books on podcasts and all of it on this topic. But one that I read, or I heard somebody speak about a year and a half ago, who said something like, you don't have to be happy what you're doing at 100% of the time, but there's some percentage in there, because you're still going to have to do like, maybe you have to like invoice people, and you have to do like budgets or some, all the stuff you have to do to make the thing happen. But whatever that balance of percentages to keep you happy enough when you're doing the part of it that you do really love, it has to feel right.
Yes.
And if it gets off balance, like, you'll know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
But nowadays so the one thing that I don't like to do is make clips and stuff like that. They got AI software to do it for me now, baby. I'm good.
Yep. That's amazing.
I'm serious. I love it. You know what I mean? And it makes things easier for me, and it also enables me to, spend time in other places that I need to spend time at. You know what I mean? And even work on my own projects. Like, I got stuff in the garage that I like tinkering around with. Hey, I get to go out there and do that because I don't spend 5 hours after a video making all these edits. I hit the link, and AI does it for me.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Well, I know you're a very, very busy woman. I don't want to keep too much more of your time. I really appreciate you coming out here and giving us a little bit of background on yourself, and especially with the game hers. It's a needed thing in the space, in any space, honestly. But it is a very, very needed thing, because there are a lot of women out here that they want to get into this realm of, especially with gaming and content creation, and either they don't know where to start, no one will help them because they're a woman, and it's just like it's tough, and the ones that can do it, they don't really want to be known about it, because of course all the just foolishness that comes along with it sometimes. So having a community to lean on, and to reach out to when they're having issues and stuff like that, especially coming, because I can say, oh no, hey, you're all right, just do it, you know what I'm saying? But I don't really know, I can't really identify with how that's where you're coming from with that, you know what I mean? So having other people sharing the same stories and how they deal with things and stuff like that, it's not only helpful for them, but it's helpful to the community as a whole, because everybody's getting to share in these experiences and learn from these experiences as well.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. We definitely have to stay in touch.
Absolutely. I'm all about it. Hey,
let me know if you get back to New York.
I definitely will, because I plan to make it to one of the conventions up there one day, because I just missed, what was it? It was NFT NYC, I think.
Yeah, that was a couple weeks ago. Next year.
Yes, I'll definitely have to. And then, like I say, we'll keep in touch. I'll I'll definitely continue to tell people about the Game Hers, the business and stuff, because like I say, a lot of people need it, and a lot of people don't even understand or even know that that's there. They're like, what?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. So once again, like I say, I really appreciate your time. Thank you to everybody that came up to show up and show out, and to listen in a little bit on some behind the bullshit. I have posted her links to I think it's actually to your LinkedIn. So I posted the link to your LinkedIn. That way people can reach out to you if they have any questions, or they can do a deeper dive into Game Hers and what you all have to offer on that side of things.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a great night.
Absolutely. And I appreciate everyone for showing out. If you haven't already, make sure y'all go shoot her a follow, like, subscribe, and stuff, everything, especially on LinkedIn. It's a great thing. And if you so choose to do so, I'd appreciate that as well. So with that being said, I'm out of here. We will see y'all later.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo. Go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit. Got a monster inside of me. You better watch out if you ignite me. The road ahead of full prophecy to be the greatest beast the world has ever seen. I feed him every day.